whether or not possible. In this world that we are facing, the competing power between the US and China will only, in my opinion, get two results. The first result is win and lose, and the second result is lose and lose. Is it possible to think the utopic world in the future that the US and China work together in a cooperation so humanity will benefit? That's my first question. The second thing is, you mentioned in your lecture that the determining factors of who will win the race between China and the US is the internal dynamic of those two countries, China and then the US. And the implication of those competing powers, you mentioned that we have Indonesia and ASEAN has to unite it together. That's one first thing. And the second thing, and we have to communicate and even do business in a fair way between among the US, ASEAN, and also China, so that our export, our productivity will increase. My question is, isn't that we also need internal dynamics of each of our own country to respond to this political bickering between these two countries? That's my two questions. Thank you very much.
Question was, is it possible for US and China to cooperate and work with each other? And your second question was on the 10 ASEAN countries, how we manage the US-China contest, and what will it depend on? Yeah. Well, on the first question, actually, one reason why I am writing a lot about the US-China contest is that I'm trying to persuade both sides that this contest will not benefit US or China. And if you look at the conclusion of my book, As China Won, in the last chapter, I try to explain to both US and China there's a wiser course of action for both of them. There's a win-win solution. And of course, as part of the win-win solution, one of the key arguments I make is that actually United States and China, while they see each other as their primary challenges, actually both of them, together with the rest of the world, face some common global challenges like climate change, like pandemics, like global financial crisis. So in some ways, the world has changed, and now the time has come for United States and China to escape from the clutches of the iron law of geopolitics and learn to work together to deal with common challenges. And if indeed we are supposed, human beings are supposed to be very intelligent, rational human beings, that's what we should be doing. In fact, in the last paragraph of my book, As China Won, I say that if we saw two tribes of apes fighting each other while the forest around them was burning, you say these apes are so stupid. The forest is burning and they're fighting each other. But that's exactly what United States and China are doing. Because under climate change, the forests are burning and they're fighting each other, which is stupid. So my goal in writing about US and China is precisely to persuade both of them to press the pause button on the US-China contest and focus on the common global economic and other challenges that we face in the world. So this is why we must speak out. And unfortunately, we Asians tend to be too polite. And Indonesians are especially polite.
Maybe because of us, but silence is golden. Silence is golden.
I think it's important for countries like Indonesia to be a bit more frank in talking to United States and China and say, hey, you'll be both better off if you stop this contest and find ways and means of cooperating against global economic challenges. I think that's the message that I hope that Indonesia can also convey. Now, in terms of how if you're hinting that among the 10 different ASEAN countries, there are different approaches to US and China, you're absolutely right. They're very different. Because some, as I mentioned, are closer to China, like Cambodia and Laos. Some are closer to United States, like Vietnam. Some are very clever, like Thailand. I mean, Thailand is technically an ally of the United States, you know. There are only 2 countries in ASEAN that are allies of the United States, Thailand and Philippines. But if you ask me, is Thailand closer to the US or to China? I don't know. The Thais are very clever. You know, the only country that wasn't colonized in the 19th century was Thailand. The Thais know how to, I think there's a word called elak, right? Avoid. Yeah. So you know how the Thais know how to avoid getting caught, you know. So the different countries will play the game in different ways. Singapore is actually very open, and the Prime Minister has said openly, both in an article in Foreign Affairs and in a speech in Shangri-La Dialogue, Singapore will not take sides. You'll be friends with the US, you'll be friends with China. So I think that's how it is. So you're right, the story within